What up, everybody? Welcome to Real Talks. I'm Marty O'Connor, and this is my boy,
Sonny Casebout.
The show doesn't work out. Anyways.
Hello, everybody.
What's good? Back at it again.
Once again, we're back at it.
Yep. And today we got some special stuff coming for you. And this is like a really cool topic. I was stoked when you brought this one to me. I really think that this is something that doesn't get talked about because I haven't heard this topic discussed before.
At all.
And so why don't you break it down for us?
Yeah, we're going to talk about help versus hindrance. And this kind of applies to us in our situation. Plus, we want to also generalize it and talk about when are you helping a friend, family, etc., and when are you hindering them.
Yeah, sometimes like giving someone a hand up, to give them a lift turns into a handout, and that, that builds dependency, and that's something you don't want. And especially like in our case, I think it's a unique case, but we could so easily become reliant on other people that really holds us back from what our true independence capability could be.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a question. How did you learn how to swim?
When I was younger or now?
Younger.
I'm pretty sure my dad was like, well, it's about time, son, and just threw me in the pond.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of like I think it was a John Wayne moment.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. No, I honestly did swim team. Okay. I don't remember when I was super young, but I'm sure it started out. I feel like started out nice and easy. I think it built step by step.
Did you do lifeguards when you were a kid?
I didn't do junior lifeguards, but I did swim with Orca. Okay. So, I mean, if I get permission, I could throw a little Speedo shot up on there for you.
All right, cool.
But imagine just this little, like, tan little body with a little comb over, just the nerdiest little preppy shit in a Speedo. That was me. You
actually, I found sidetrack a little bit. I found an old photo of us at the Goodwill Fitness Center. Yeah. And you still had the comb over. Circa 2013, 14-ish.
Yeah, I was like, it naturally flows to the side.
Hey, if you have good hair,
now, you take this hat off, it's like, yeah. I got like the mullet mohawk flow. It still comes over a bit, but.
Well, the reason why I asked is I learned how to swim. My grandfather back in the day, he had a house up in Hesperia with a huge pool. Yeah. And he took me up there when I was like 4 or 5 to the top of the roof. And threw me in and said, you either sink or you swim.
You serious?
Swear to God.
It's awesome.
My mom had a panic attack, almost, divorced my dad on the spot, which ended up happening anyways. But yeah.
Was your grandpa or your dad?
No, it was my grandpa.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a tough SOB.
So your dad was just like caught in the middle.
Yeah, I think he was maybe a little intimidated by my grandpa. His guy was tough, man. He's like an old Army guy or Navy. School, he was tough as nails. But the reason why I ask or bring all that together is, what's your best way of teaching somebody something? Is it the sink or swim method? Or is it, do you apply it slowly but, consistently? Like, what is your method when you want to, like, maybe if a friend's asking for help? Like, do you, like, throw them out there or do you give them some type of,
For sure. Yeah, and we touched on, strengths last week. Right. And one of my strengths now is being individualistic, and that's being able to...
I love that word, by the way.
Trying to, like, assess each individual. Okay. And not have, like, a blanket strategy that applies to everybody.
God, that's so true.
Because each people have, unique needs. Yeah. They have certain personalities that respond certain ways. And I think the same can be applied to this. When you're helping somebody, it's like, is this someone who... may have some dependencies where, you start helping them out and it's like, if you give a mouse a cookie, right, they're going to want a glass of milk. They're going to want this. They're going to want that, So I think really assessing the individual and being there, because not we all, but it's in so many people's hearts to want to help, and you want to do everything for people, and pour yourselves out. I know you and I are both the same way. Like that, but at some point it does become a hindrance, and you rely on that, and it's just not a good look.
I think the problem I've come across when trying to help versus hindering people is that I feel like if you're not helping yourself, I can't help you. Yeah, it's different when somebody comes to the table and it's like, look, and I can see it, they're working their tail off and they're doing all this stuff, then I'm like, I'm gonna reciprocate that energy, and try to help you as best as I can. Because I've noticed, and I know you get this sometimes too, where like someone will pop in your DM and it's another guy in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. And hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And sometimes I think like, I look at this guy's page and I'm like, you're not really helping yourself in a lot of different areas. Mm-hmm. So I'll give a very vague answer, not to be rude or, dismissive, but I give them a very vague. And then I see guys that I could tell are putting in the work.
Yeah, for sure.
And they ask me, hey, what's your secret sauce to this or that? Mm-hmm. And I'll take my time. I'll give them a very detailed, it kind of reminds me of when we were watching The Last Dance, Chicago Bulls. Mm-hmm. And Kobe was talking about Jordan. And mm-hmm. Jordan says, I'll help you with anything. But you knew he didn't give that away to just anybody.
No.
It had to be the next guy in line. And you have to kind of pay your dues, or at least your body work has to show you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I think reading an individual is huge, and you could see hints. And, you see it when you see somebody's work ethic. You see them putting in the grind, and they're stuck on something, and right. They can't get past it, and they need that help, and you have the experience and the know-how. Yeah, you want to help that person. Again, being a mentor is a big thing to people.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched our last episode, I strongly suggest it. We get into that, but you got to look for, certain traits in people. And right. I think, on a first introduction, it's hard. You don't really know.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to give a little bit of yourself or your secret sauce, but you don't know motives. You don't know what the person's like, what they're right. going to do with it. But when it comes to just helping out individuals, maybe in our situation, yeah, it's you want to help somebody grow, not necessarily just help them in a certain situation. So over time, how can you turn help in a singular situation into help in the big picture?
Right.
And I think those are two very different things. There's times, where my arms are exhausted and I can't text anymore.
Right.
But when it comes down to it, it's no, I should be struggling and using my pinky and doing all my texting
right.
for myself, because it's going to build more strength. It's going to help me, build that dependency on myself and not the reliance on somebody hey, will you grab my phone and type this out for me?
Exactly.
Because when that help's not there, I'm weaker now because I was asking for help the whole time.
Plus, there's a satisfaction you get from doing that, even
mm-hmm.
though it seems very small and tiny, minute, but the fact that you could do that on your own, you're something
yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
And I recently learned this over the last 6 to 8 months, living at home, how much people are quick to do things for me, from,
mm-hmm.
Helping me with food to getting dressed to getting out of bed. And I found myself being somewhat reliant.
Yeah.
And I remember I was in a relationship a couple years ago, and somebody challenged me on that. What are you going to do when you're on your own?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, but I'm not. I fought it, but that person was right, because
mm-hmm.
I knew that was going to be down the road eventually.
Right.
So I literally, right before, a year before I moved out, I started to really push myself away from help. But there is a very hard way to navigate through that. What are some of your tips on how you navigate through getting help and, telling people I know it looks like I'm struggling right now, but I'm going to figure it out?
Yeah, for sure. So I've talked on numerous occasions about my idea of perfection and hating failure so
yeah.
much. But, that pain and that struggle over time you realize is the secret sauce to growth.
Yeah.
So for me, it is trying things, even when I'm not successful, trying again, and then what that does, it causes you to innovate in your own mind and challenge yourself to think outside the box, to be okay, how can I accomplish this? Because without challenge, there is no growth.
Right.
Strictly, if there's no resistance, you're just going to keep doing what you're doing. And until you are confronted with that challenge, you won't ever look at something differently.
No.
And so for me, it's actually putting myself in that situation and be all right, no, let me try and figure this out, and giving it at least a few tries. And, if it's coming down to it and I do need the help, okay, have someone step in, but chew on it,
yeah.
think about it, and then, come at it from a different angle. And just continuing to try and build, and then putting in the work around it. It's okay, what work can I be doing that would allow me to more freely be independent to handle tasks X,
exactly.
Y, and Z?
Exactly.
So it's all about putting in the work.
Yeah, to me too, I'm kind of a strategist where I like to, if I can figure this out on my own, and then I like to try. And I don't mind failing either. And I think we've already
yeah.
had episodes about that. But if I fail, then I come back for more. It's one of the things I had to learn is I have a stackable dryer and washer in my house.
Yeah.
And I got one of those old school pointers you see at school, the
mm-hmm.
retractable ones.
Oh, yeah.
So I tried to do that, and it just wasn't working because it's more of a sensitive button up on the top
yeah.
of the dryer, and I came back, and I was just trying different things to figure it out.
Yeah.
And finally, I found out with one of those claspers where you can press it, and it will grab something for you.
Yeah, pick up trash or something.
That rubber end of it if I hold it up, it works.
Okay, there you
know?
go. Yep.
So, and to me, it was like one of those moments where I got it.
Yeah.
To the point where I called people up, family, friends. I was like, dude, I know how to do my laundry.
Let's do some laundry.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But there's that gray line that I always walk between wanting to try it out, and then it's really tough when I'm around family and friends, and maybe a girlfriend too, where they really want to step in and help and like take over, and like I love it because there's days where, like you said, we're exhausted because we do so much with what we have, but how do you navigate through that?
Yeah, I think communication, is always a big factor on a number of topics that we talk about here, but it really is a big deal. And, it comes down to it when you do have a girlfriend or boyfriend, caregiver, family that wants to step in and help you. It's about communicating with them what your goals are and how they can help you get there. And a lot of people don't even think about goals on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. On a monthly, a yearly, like no one thinks about where am I going and how can I get there. I think if you have a broader perspective on that, and you can inform your crew, your ride or dies, everyone that's around you wanting to help you, that you guys can then kind of put together a group strategy that helps the individual. Because, I've been there. I've been at, parties with family members, friends, extended family, and everyone's wanting to do every little thing for you. And like, can I do this? Can I do that? And it's overwhelming. And it also, for me, it makes me feel more paralyzed, more, more injured. And
it's the wrong attention at times.
For sure. And it's with good intention,
right?
But it comes negatively, Yeah.
It's hard for me too, because like you said, good intentions come in. And I feel bad because I'll have like a negative reaction.
Oh yeah.
I'll be like, "Hey, calm down. Let me try this. Let me do this." And then you feel the eyes watching you while you're trying to do something.
Yeah.
But I remember when we first met, the limited hand motion you had and limited shoulder motion you had, to now it's where I could see you lift and move your fingers and do simple tasks like texting, calling. Like when I call you, literally you answer like on the first or second ring. Yeah. And I know. I already know what you're doing.
Hey, that's because you're special, though.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate that.
When favorites pops up, and that one pic you sent me that one time.
Yeah, that's a new contact photo.
That's the contact photo.
The one in the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one. Attaboy.
But
yeah, for me, navigating through relationships, it's always in the beginning. I felt like I needed to prove myself.
Yep.
Where now it's not so much I need to prove myself. It's more like I know I got this. So you don't need to do this.
Yeah, and let me jump in. I think that's easier said than done, because I know we have a personality type.
Right.
I feel like we kind of have that very competitive kind of alpha personality type that wants to jump in and prove something.
Yeah.
And there's some people that, naturally kind of sit back and would accept that help. How would you give advice to somebody who maybe is naturally a little more complacent in the routine that's been built around them?
Right.
And be like, yo, how can I challenge myself to try and step up? Like what things would you suggest to them?
Well, like people who are like that are naturally complacent, are the same ones that sometimes will end up in our DM. Hey, you transferring your own, bro, and you get in your car on your own?
Yeah.
Oh, you're driving? Oh, I want to do that. It's if you're gonna try to accomplish something, then you have to break it down into steps. But you have to be willing to like exert yourself at some level.
Yeah.
Even though like I think people get the misconception that we don't exert ourselves because we don't sweat. We're not putting up a bunch of workout videos all the time. But the thing is,
my brain is drenched in sweat all day, bro.
Well, even just your small arm movement sometimes too.
For real, yeah.
And for me, wheeling around or like getting off my couch all day long, by the time I finally get to my bed, I'm like, dude, I'm done.
Dead, yeah.
So I think, but the thing is like, I didn't feel that exertion 3 or 4 years ago. So I was kind of stuck in these routines. Like, all right, my dad's going to help me get off the couch, back to my chair, and help me get into bed. Right. I don't have to swing my legs over. He's got that.
Right.
And what I realized through that is I'm not building any kind of stamina throughout my day. You know what I mean? And your stamina can be built in two different ways, mentally and physically.
Totally.
And I think we attest to that. Especially you mentally, you're a warrior. On any means, and physically I've had to learn to, I got to wheel up and down a ramp to get in and out of my house, get in and out of my truck, get in and out of my bed, so, but it all started when I just felt like, man, I needed to challenge myself. And if you're sitting there and you feel bad about yourself, you feel like you're worthless, you feel like your life's not increasing anywhere, you're not improving anywhere, you really need to start breaking things down and challenging yourself.
Yeah. We've touched on a number of times about investing in yourself, because if you don't have the confidence to move forward, you're going to remain stuck.
What's the only way to get confidence, though?
Challenge it, break that wall down. You got to do it. And I like, there's something I like to talk about, and that's the issue of pain. And pain isn't just like physical pain, like, oh, my leg hurts, but, the pain of struggle, the pain of hard work, the pain of, mental anguish and all of that. And it's like, I seriously believe that pain is the greatest weapon that we have trained ourselves to run away from.
Yeah.
If
it wasn't always like that, though.
No. Yeah, this is, over years and years of being confronted with it, and finally just submitting and being like, yo, I got to utilize this, because otherwise it's going to kill me.
If we could package this in a can that says Will Talks Pain, put it up right here, we would actually serve it to some people and sell it on the regular.
That's a whole can of whoop ass right
yes,
there.
Sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
But when you take that pain and you apply a purpose to it, okay, this is huge. You got to have goals. You got to have an inspiration, whether that's a person, whether that's a task you want to accomplish, and you take that pain and you apply it to what you want. That is the secret sauce for me. When, you could take that and be like, when you are struggling and it hurts, you just have this constant reminder beating you in the back of your brain, just like, this is why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And this is why. And when you feel that struggle, it's like, keep going, because it's making you stronger. You got to keep hammering.
It's almost euphoric sometimes too, in a weird, and I'm not like a pain type, like physical pain type person, even though I have tattoos, whatever, but it's not something I search for. Like I don't just instinctively want pain.
No.
But that emotional pain, sometimes I know when I'm stagnant in life, sometimes I get worried, man, things are too good. I need something to change it up, because it's like my spinach to my Popeye. You give me a little bit of that, like, you don't think I could do this? You're not, I'm not good enough for you? You give me that, and all of a sudden you see like that fire, and it's like an inferno.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So we're just trying to I think when it comes to helping Hinderance, we like to help, but if we could channel some of what you're going through into a purpose, I think that's what we really want. Instead of me giving you $20, I'd rather show you how you can make $20. Instead of me giving you a fish, I want to teach you how to fish.
For sure.
Is our stance on this subject, for sure.
Yeah. From my work days when I was back in sales, one of the things I loved from
ABC, right?
Yeah, always be closing, baby.
That's right, boy.
My boss would just like, we'd be in the car. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, just chilling. What's up?
Yeah.
And he's like, why aren't you on the phone?
Yeah.
I'm like, who do you want me to call? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, all right, watch. And he's like, I'm going to go after some rejection today. These people, they don't want anything I have to sell, but you know what? I'm going to call them.
Nice.
And I'm like, dude, and it's like, he calls and it makes him like shift his strategy to figure out something new.
Yeah.
And the same can be applied when you have that goal in mind of like closing the deal. It's like when you're forced with resistance, you got to find a new path.
Yeah.
And it makes you stronger, because that struggle, that breaking down is the process of getting stronger.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that. I said last episode too, a muscle doesn't get stronger until you break it down.
Right.
Continually.
Right.
And that's another thing, continually. One shot, trying something again and again and again, it's not going to happen. Yeah. You got to bite your lip, take a deep breath, go after it again, because over time, it'll happen.
And when I'm going through that struggle, and like we said, it doesn't happen the first try, the second try, the fourth try, the fifth try, I channel somebody at that point. I wake. Was days when I was doing outside sales as well, where I would go into the office and I'd plan out my schedule. Then I started YouTubing videos of Kobe's game winners, or back in the day I loved Chuck Liddell and his knockouts.
Yeah.
Something that I like would just get me hyped for that day.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to channel somebody else that maybe you think's in a better position than you are. Like lately it's been maybe a little Conor McGregor in his prime, but somebody that you, in a way, look up into their strategies or whatever, that could just give you that little bit of extra in your cup of coffee in the morning to get you going through. So when you're struggling a little bit, sometimes channel like a hero of yours, wherever that is.
I love that. And to me, that speaks so much about mindset.
Yeah.
What is your mindset going into these challenges? Are you like, oh, F this, I've done 100 times, I'm going to keep trying the damn thing over and over? How many times have we been there just trying to like hammer on something that isn't moving, you know? And like, until you take a step back, reset. Yeah, for sure, man. And it's like, you got to take that mind and you got to twist it. It's a Rubik's Cube sometimes. You got to start maneuvering it and thinking about things differently. It may seem super repetitive, but this is what we've learned over the 8 years that we've been hurt. And it's been successful. Now, I want to get into some specifics. So talk to me a little bit about an instance in relationships when, someone that loves you or, is new and just trying to help as much as possible, tried to do maybe too much for you when instead of kind of letting you spread your wings.
Yeah, I can think of two off the top of my head real quick. I've definitely had girlfriends in the past that would jump into the situation and just want to completely take over. Yeah. We're talking about helping me get dressed, to helping me with maybe my bowel movements or going to the bathroom, to driving. And it's slowly, I could just see them, their feelings, their energy just deteriorate. Mm-hmm. You could see the stress. You could see their stamina just go right out the window. And at the time, I thought, oh, this is what I need. I need a girl that wants to take this all on. Yeah. Bite off way more than she can chew. Let's just throw it all out there and see what sticks. It was the wrong mentality to have, because I think at the end of the day, even in our situations, we want to have a sense of independence while still being dependent on somebody else, And we'll get into that in a later episode. Mm-hmm. But I've had that, and then obviously we have that every day with our family, especially our moms.
Yeah, I can definitely speak on that one.
And I had a sit down conversation. Like, listen, this isn't forever. My situation, I told my mom, like, listen, you need to stop focusing so much on me and focus on yourself a little bit. Yeah. I'm growing, things are expanding. And I love the fact that you want to cook me dinner every night. And I love the fact that you want to help me take off my shoes when I get home and this and that. But what happens when you're not there? What am I going to do? Yeah. And it was a tough conversation, because I know it was nothing but love coming from that end. And there was nothing love coming from this end. But, you never want to hurt your mom's feelings.
Never. And I could speak and piggyback off of that because, for me, I'm coming off of, both my caregivers being gone for the last almost 2 weeks. Yeah. Right. And so I'm kind of here on my own, with someone helping me, but a different setup than I'm used to. Right. But it's forced me to handle so many more of the things that I typically don't. Right. And
what is that like? What does that feel like? What are your emotions?
Well, here's what I noticed. I love it. It's empowering for me, because I know, for me, I am ready to handle that next step of independence. But what I also learned is that my learning curve on certain things that are regarding me, surrounding me, was hindered because someone else had been handling it. Right. So like paperwork and some of the things, just my typical accounting and whatnot, that my mom handles. Right. For me, because she's a freaking rock star. Absolutely. It's my understanding, though, is falling because I'm not involved day to day. And now when that outlet, take her out of the picture, my understanding needs to come up to speed. Yeah. And so that struggle to come up to speed will be forced through, needing to make it happen, researching, putting in the work, and repetition. Right. I think those three things are huge.
Which is going to suck at first. It's going to seem tedious. I'm like, damn, I was glad I didn't have to do this. Yeah. But it's very necessary for you to take your next step. Yeah. Which is independence. Just fully living on your own. Yeah. And I was in that boat maybe a year or two ago where I realized I need to develop myself more fully, because in my mind I was limiting myself. I think that's what happens too when it comes to help and hindrance, is sometimes we hinder ourselves because we're limited belief, right? Like I thought I could never do this. How am I ever going to cook on my own? How am I ever going to do this on my own? Right? So I had to change that and tap into the competitiveness that we have. Be like, I can fucking do this. Yeah. And from that point, it started to kind of crumble like little blocks. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's where you're at right now.
Yeah. And help can be addictive. Yeah. Things that come easy are nice. Yes. It's nice, but it's building dependence. Right. And it's hurting you in the long run. Yeah. And so for those of you that are in a space where you are accepting help all over the place, maybe take a step back. Yeah. Jump on your iPad, or if you can write it down. Just be like, what are the things that I am not doing for myself right now that others are taking care of?
Yeah. That you want to challenge yourself and try and do.
Yeah. And even think of, if you're a business owner listening to this, what are things that you're outsourcing that you have the capacity to take on yourself. That could save you $1 during these tough times.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I always think sticking to your core competency and your strengths are a great thing, but you also have to challenge yourself and see what you can handle.
Right.
You know, if you can like fill out your schedule and you can fill out your energy capacity, if you want to call it that, you got to tap it out sometimes. You know, allow yourself time to rest. But I think exhausting yourself is a great thing.
I do too.
And a lot of people get complacent not doing it because it's too easy to come home, kick your shoes off, and do that. But it's like, all right, bro, I could throw on the workout clothes and go to the gym for an hour, and then just feel like so good and ready to knock out for the night. You know.
But you got to also do it like, you know, there's a lot, like they always say, like a New Year's resolution is to lose weight. You see all those people join the gym, and then they go balls to the wall for 7 days, maybe 2 weeks, and then they quit. Why? You know, because they can't. First of all, they're just doing too much. You know what I mean? You need to like I think it was a great idea for you to write down like, well, yeah, I want to push my own chair. I want to get in out of bed on my own, and just attack one at a time. I would not want to push my chair and get out of bed at the same time. You know, like now we're talking about a lot of different strengths on my body, a lot of different wears and tears. You know, so it's like when you're coming up with this list, literally knock it out one at a time. Because if you go for all 10 at one time, next thing you know, you're going to give up in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah. And setting expectations too.
Oh, that's
expectations
huge.
Are a big thing. So for me, you know, at the beginning when my body was very spastic, tight, hard to deal with, in bed, you know, I'd start on my side and my hip would just start killing me.
Yeah.
And God, I just want to roll into my back, dude.
Can you describe like what spastic means to you and what that does to your body?
Yeah, spasms for me, it feels like my muscles have a little corkscrew that is just continuing to tighten and tighten and tighten to a point where it gets to the top and it just shoots off.
Yeah.
You know, your leg either kicks out, has to shake or something. It's just the pain gets to a certain point where your body can't take it anymore. Just like it has to
involuntary?
Kick out. Involuntary. Sometimes they're voluntary. I can set off spasms on my own.
Right.
Which is a whole nother set of issues I deal with. But
right.
No, but in terms of getting off my side and dealing with spasms, like, okay, at the beginning, I would have to try and voluntarily set off a spasm to kick my leg out so that I can roll back a little bit.
Okay.
But over time, and I'm talking over a good amount of time,
a few years,
that control was harnessed because I understood the ins and outs of those feelings of, okay, what is this sensation going to cause my body to do? And then what do I do to counteract that?
Right.
And so understanding that and learning from it allowed me over time to now have so much better control of my legs where I can kick them out, roll over onto my back, and alleviate the pain for a while, you know? And that's a big thing. Fully turning over is another story, but hey, that's like a whole nother 2 hours that I can get by without having to ask for that help. And it's like, it's been good for me because sleeping, especially in the beginning, is such a B, dude. It sucks.
Right.
You know, it's a really hard
Waking
thing.
up every few hours for
and putting that on somebody else.
Yes.
That comes on someone else to help you out. You know,
Yes.
so being able to take that step yourself not only alleviates some of the help that you would rely on from your caregivers, because that's something we need to consider also.
Yes.
The workload that people love you, they do it. They're going to do it until they are bone tired, dead, you know, and like you want to do that to help them out too. It's not just for yourself, but
because they're never going to tell you. They're never going to
tell you. And after a while, honestly, I think not a grudge, but they're going to get tired and they're going to be like, well, you should have known.
Yeah.
I was like, well, even when I ask, you know, if you want, you know, to take a break, it's like, don't ask.
I try to be extremely aware of the ones that are helping me, of their energy levels, because I'm an empath. I feel like I can feel good energy. I can feel negative energy. I can feel tiredness.
Yeah. How's my energy?
It's great right now, actually. You seem like you're full of new beginnings, excitement. You ready to turn a new leaf?
That leaf is turned, baby.
Oh, that a boy. You
it's
know, but
good.
For me, it's, you know, it's being aware of yourself, aware of your help, and kind of just having an understanding. You know, there's so much we deal with day in and day out, and yeah, it's great to have help, especially it's when it's like spoon fed to you, like, hey, I'll do this for you. It's easy to say yes all the time, right? But it's those times when you challenge yourself and you say, no, let me do this. and all of a sudden you gain a little momentum, you gain a little speed in those situations, you know? So we suggest that you kind of look at your situation now, whether it's a job, a relationship, your own personal health. What are things you want to do on your own? You know, live on your own, do this on your own. Just make a little list. And while we're kind of spending this time together quarantine, let's start checking some things off.
Yeah, and for those of you who are helping somebody, you know, think about them and maybe have that conversation with them. Like, what are some of your goals? Because a lot of times we're consumed with, you know, our day-to-day, the things that our mind are, you know, dwelling on, and, you know, the stuff that's right in front of us. So the big picture is a hard thing to take into account. So if you are someone, a caregiver, boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, wife, husband,
how many parents hinder their kids' growth? You know,
for real. Yeah, that umbrella parent. It's a brutal condition. But talk to your person about their growth goals, and consider, you know, alternatives to the status quo. What are you doing day to day that you could step up and work towards to challenge that person in a positive way? Yeah. You know, not to be like, okay, come on over here.
Yeah, come on. There's tough love, but you don't want to be vindictive or anything like that.
You want to keep the motivation flowing. So I think having that conversation and setting goals that are understood.
Yeah.
And you know, writing them down. We've talked about this a number of times on goal setting, but having those things in mind for what you want to do to challenge yourself and challenge that person that you care about, because I think you'll grow together through these challenges, and I think it only builds camaraderie. I think it'll build a relationship further. And the more independence, the more fun shit you could do.
Yeah.
You know, so it's definitely worth doing. And there's just a whole host of things people can do.
Yeah.
I love it.
I want to end on this thought too. It's hard too in our positions because there's a lot of doubt that comes in. Mm-hmm. I remember when I talked about first doing a lot of things from driving to living on my own. Even the people that were closest to me doubted this process. So you're going to have to prove the doubters wrong at some point too, which is okay and even more gratifying, you know? So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Be analytical, you know, be inquisitive, ask questions, but it's up to you to take the first step.
Have those conversations with those around you. Have that conversation with yourself. And if you're not in that place to challenge yourself yet, start working on that confidence. Yeah. Start working on that. Start working on your mindset, because those things are going to allow you to take on those challenges and really be able to deal with the struggle that'll take you to that next level. So we encourage you to take those today. And if there's things that you're struggling with and you are that person who's grinding, putting it in, you know, putting the work in, and you could always reach out to us. We're always here for you, always here for the wheel world. This was a wheel sick topic today.
Yeah, man. It was, man.
I like it. So
as always, your slogan?
Empower, entertain, and keep it
wheel,
baby. We love you guys. We'll talk to you next time.